Good morning. It is Thursday, March 17th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. And we start with news from the lower house of Parliament, where a Constitution Reform Committee is to be launched early in this new term of government. That is according to the Attorney General, Dale Marshall. He made the announcement last night during the budget debate. The Attorney General said a draft constitution is ready and will soon be rolled out. He also revealed who will chair this commission.
He proposed that Mr. Justice, retired Christopher Blackman, should be the chair of this commission. And I can think of very few people as eminent or as erudite as Mr. Justice Blackman to grapple with this issue for us. And I want to encourage all Barbadians to seize every opportunity to weigh in on this constitutional discussion as it is brought to the people of Barbados.
In more news from the debate, we hear that the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and other areas within the healthcare system will benefit significantly from the move by government to cap freighting costs into Barbados. This is according to Dr. Sonia Brown, the Minister in the Ministry of State, in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, stating she generally supports most of the items in the budget outlined on Monday's presentation. Dr. Brown says the policy on freighting is especially important for the provision of health care in Barbados.
Let me give you that example. The cost of drugs have skyrocketed since the pandemic. The cost of freight, as you know, for many small businesses too, and large businesses have also skyrocketed, which means that the availability of medications, because there are some companies that want a pay-first system, which means the ability of us getting medications required, and I will get to the NCDs, has been hampered. Not only medications, supplies for the polyclinic, supplies for the hospital, all of these were impacted by the high freight charges. So I commend the government, the Prime Minister, for coming up with these things.
Dr. Brown says going forward, officials need to refocus attention on other parts of the healthcare system, given the increase in the number of non-communicable diseases present across Barbados and the burden they place on the QEH.
Because of the COVID situation, and I don't want to say neglect, but being placed on the back burner, the NCDs had risen. Up to last night, I had a conversation with one of the senior doctors at the hospital. And they were out of bed, is one of the reasons being they're inundated by the complications of non-communicable diseases. They are seeing people coming in with cancer, breast cancer, that because of the pandemic, some 2 years are showing up 2 years later than they should have, with end-stage disease. We are seeing more like ulcers because of peripheral vascular disease, also as an effect of these things. And these are placing a burden on the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
In her contribution to the budget, the Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Kay McConney, has revealed the training programs are on the cards at a number of institutions to boost the construction gateway projects planned for Barbados. She expects by March 2023, close to 3,000 artisans will be trained at various levels.
It is expected that as part of that program, we will also pay them to learn. And so there will be a stipend that will be given. You will not get rich on it, but it will be enough to give you breakfast and a little bit of food and bus fare to get to and from, until such time as you're able to convert that skill into a way to finance your life. And so, sir, the construction gateway is on its way. We expect that once Cabinet does its final review and approves the final going forward, we should be able to launch within the next couple of weeks. And so we say, Barbados, get ready. I want to also thank the persons of the private sector who have collaborated with us in identifying what are those specific areas we need to focus on now.
We'll have more news for the budget debate right here on the Morning Report, but when we come back after this break, we'll look at the local COVID-19 situation and get an update on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. 19 cases recorded on Tuesday, March 15th, and this is from 949 tests conducted by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. The cases comprised 26 youngsters under the age of 18 and 92 people were 18 years and older. The number of people in isolation facilities was 45, while 1,085 people were in home isolation. As at March 15th, the virus had claimed 326 lives. Under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, the total number of people fully vaccinated stands at 150,471. That's 55.5% of the total population, or 65.9% of the eligible population. The eligible population represents those people who are 12 years and older. Russian military forces are being blamed for damage caused to the Chernobyl power plant in Ukraine. And now there is rising concern about Russian attacks on other nuclear power plants. We hear more in this report.
A dense forest of pine and silver birch trees lines the road to the remote town of Varash in northwest Ukraine, close to the border with Belarus. Visible in the distance is the Rivne power plant, Ukraine's oldest nuclear facility. Some people worry that Russian forces could try to seize this plant because Moscow's troops have already taken control of Zaporizhzhia, one of Ukraine's 4 operational nuclear facilities, as well as Chernobyl.
It's nuclear terrorism. Chernobyl is decommissioned, but it stores nuclear waste that needs to be cooled. But there are power cuts. As for Zaporizhzhia, it is Europe's biggest nuclear plant. It has 6 reactors. So when Russian forces take it in this sort of attack, there are many risks. Reactors can be damaged and things can go wrong.
Things nearly went wrong here on Monday after Ukrainian troops tried to thwart a nearby attack by Russian forces.
There was a missile that flew above here to shoot down an enemy drone. So this is happening here. There are risks.
Russian shelling also damaged a nuclear facility in Kharkiv last week. Moscow's targeting of nuclear sites is a sinister and dangerous twist in the war that could further threaten Europe and is fueling anxiety here. More than 7,000 people work at the power plant, so most people in this town are connected to it in some way, and nearly everyone is acutely aware of what a nuclear disaster could mean. The mayor of Varash is an engineer who worked at the Rivne plant for 25 years. He says everything's being done to protect it.
We know how dangerous nuclear energy is for the world. We've seen Fukushima and Chernobyl. In Varash, there's all sorts of work at the plant, and many skilled people, like me, an engineer, understand the gravity of a nuclear site not being secure and controlled. It can be a catastrophe.
A memorial in the town centre commemorates the victims of Chernobyl. The world's worst nuclear accident took place nearly 40 years ago. People here want the international community to do more to help safeguard Ukraine's nuclear sites so that a grim part of history will not be repeated.
In other international news, the military in Taiwan is conducting drills as tensions remain high with China. The military exercises come after continued Chinese military posturing in the South China Sea.
Taiwanese soldiers fire artillery shells at a target representing advancing enemy forces. The democratically self-ruled island is conducting military exercises to prepare for a potential assault by Chinese forces. They follow repeated incursions by Chinese warplanes into the island's air defense zone. Taiwanese leader Tsai Ing-wen, seen here watching Army reservists train last week, says the war in Ukraine proves Taiwan needs to be prepared to resist threats from China. In a sign of increasing tensions between the two countries, reservists have been mobilized for 14 days this year rather than the usual 7.
I think the training is very solid. We are now familiar with the nearby defensive terrain and also places we can use to fend off an attack. I think this 14-day reservist call-up is very useful.
China considers Taiwan a breakaway province and has previously threatened to seize the island by force. The leadership in Beijing has been angered by recent reports of Taiwan finalizing its latest deal to buy military equipment from the United States.
We firmly oppose the sale of arms by the US to Taiwan. We oppose any official exchanges between the US and Taiwan. The Democratic Progressive Party authorities have repeatedly used the hard-earned money of Taiwan's taxpayers to buy US arms in an attempt to seek independence by force, but they will not succeed.
In Taiwan's capital, Taipei, they've been demonstrating in support of Ukraine's resistance to the Russian invasion. And 4,000 boxes of medicine, food and blankets have been collected for Ukrainian refugees.
It's unbelievable this is happening. We should do what we can to help. The children are innocent. Their lives have been turned upside down so suddenly. As a parent, I feel so heartbroken. I want to help.
Taiwan regularly holds drills to prepare for a potential Chinese invasion. As the war in Ukraine rages on, 23 million Taiwanese are hoping the status quo where they are will be maintained.
We're really hoping for some de-escalation in these tensions there in Taiwan and of course in Ukraine as well. As we watch these things unfold, let's go now to Wendy here on Thursday and see what's happening on Mornin Barbados today. Wendy, what do you have for us?
Well, good morning to you, Shane, and it's going to be a terrific Thursday for all of us. Why? We're going to be hearing from the UWI once again. We'll be returning to the Hill to find out what's happening with the clinical medicine. Then we'll also be hearing from a Bajan Afar who's been doing a lot back home to help those in need. Yes, Miss Linda Greenwich Kirk, we'll hear all about the work she's doing. And Shane, it's time for our exceptional youth. Thursday is the day. We have a lot of youngsters, some triathletes that you'll hear all about. So that and more coming up.
Sounds like good news about those youngsters, but we got some other youngsters to talk about here that we've been seeing on some viral videos. We've had some reaction overnight, and we'll look at those stories and more here on the Morning Report, and we have sports coming your way as well. There's reaction from local education officials to viral videos on social media showing students in uniform smoking and twerking, among other things. They spoke to Trevor Thorpe following a tour of the Elliott Belgrave Primary and the Coleridge and Parry schools.
School is a microcosm of society, but vaping would not be tolerated in schools. The charge came from Chief Education Officer Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw as she toured the Elliott Belgrave Primary and the Coleridge and Parry schools. She was responding to questions regarding videos making the rounds on social media, showing students in uniform vaping and twerking, among other things.
It appears as if the child was vaping, or the children were vaping, right? I don't know exactly what was in that electronic cigarette. But it looks that way, and investigations do show that they were indeed vaping. Yes, and this activity will not be condoned in any school. And the principals will do the necessary to ensure that any instance, any breach such as this will be dealt with accordingly. And of course, they will have the support of the ministry with regard to that.
She says the ministry cannot do it all alone and called on parents, the church and civil society to play their parts in helping to mold children into good citizens.
That is why, as a community, we need to come together to try to help our children do the right things. It can't be the school alone. There may be a question of supervision, but let's say there's supervision in place. A teacher cannot be in a classroom with secondary children every second, every day, it's not possible. The teacher would do patrols, but we know how children are. They're going to wait until the teacher turns his back or her back to decide, let me try this thing. And these are the kinds of things that happen. So when these things happen, how are we going to deal with them? That is the thing. So we need our parents to be on board. We need the principals, teachers, we need the society to be on board, the community to be on board, and of course the Ministry of Education will play its part.
Dr. Archer Bradshaw also says cellular phones in schools will also be getting the attention of educational officials.
Well, a review of the cell phone policy is on the cards. It is something that we will look at to, of course, see the pros and the cons of having cell phones in school and how best, if we have them in schools, how best we can manage the use of these phones. But cell phones are not supposed to be in schools right now, and these children are using these cell phones to do things. So we have to look at it. We will do so, but in the meantime, the children have to follow the rules.
The education chief was happy with the quality of the remedial work carried out at the Elliott Belgrave Primary School and the Corrigan Parish Schools. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
And while the review of the cell phone policy is on the cards, as you heard just now from the Chief Education Officer, Ramona Archer Bradshaw, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, looking at what else is happening with this phone situation, the Barbados Union of Teachers is saying it's against the use of mobile phones in schools. The President, Rudy Lovell, says it's a matter teachers have been seeking to have addressed for some time.
These challenges are systemic and were present pre-COVID-19 and are just as outstanding and urgent as the infrastructural challenges teachers are concerned about. Teachers have tirelessly made suggestions on the use of cell phones in schools, which have fallen on deaf ears. Nevertheless, there is no need to berate neither the students or the schools. Rather, we need to find out why these students feel compelled to create such videos.
Now, when questioned about whether the negative stance on mobile phones wasn't a backward step given the role of virtual learning in the education system now, Mr. Lovell suggested teachers would indicate if the use of phones is required. But he says once they are no longer needed, they should be put away. Also reacting to this situation, a Member of Parliament for Christchurch South, Queen's Counsel Ralph Thorne, believes Parliament and wider society must respond to the lawless actions and antics some of these school children are portraying, and in general young people. He says leaders of the country, including those in Parliament, need to safeguard the moral infrastructure of Barbados. In expressing concern about the content of these recent videos involving school children engaged in what he terms immoral activity, he says we also need to remind our young people the future belongs to them. He acknowledged some of the things being seen in these videos are not new and happened when he was at school. But he says now something major has changed. He says we cannot remain comfortable with this current environment.
When I was at school, people were smoking. When I was at school, students were drinking. I came up in Barbados in the 1960s and 70s as a child. And calypsos were commodifying, objectifying, and sexualizing women, and in many cases degrading them. That is the Barbados in which I came up. But what I perceive to be the difference today is that the immoral conduct is more visible. It is more extreme, but it is certainly more public. And we ask ourselves, why is a significant portion of our young population feeling this need to publicize antisocial and deviant behavior? Why?
In news further afield now, the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley in Trinidad and Tobago, has reshuffled his near two-year-old cabinet, appointing a new Attorney General and shifting some of his more senior ministers to new portfolios. A statement from the office of the Prime Minister there said Rowley had informed the President Paul Weeks to revoke the appointment of Faris Al-Rawi as Attorney General, replacing him with Senior Counsel Reginald Amour. Al-Rawi has been appointed as Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, and Camille Robinson Regis will be the new Minister of Housing and Urban Development. The new Minister of Planning and Development is Penelope Beckles, while Kazim Hussein is the new Minister of Agriculture, Lands and Fisheries. Let's look at some sports now, and England made full use of a lifeless Kensington Oval pitch to reach 244 for 3 at stumps on day one of the second test, the second apex test against the West Indies. Captain Joe Root led by example, winning the toss and opting to bat as he finished unbeaten on 119, his 25th test ton. Root and Dan Lawrence shared an unbroken 164-run third wicket partnership before Lawrence then was dismissed just before the close of play for 91. That included 13 fours and 1 6. Bowling for the Windies, Jaden Seals for Sammy Pramal and Jason Holder, they claimed one wicket apiece. Let's look at some of those highlights.
Joe Root plays. Nice footwork, nice connection. Need to get a glove on it. Oh, that's away in the gap. Well, that's not a bad response, is it? Joseph changed the angle of attack as well by going round the wicket.
500s against the West Indies. 5 different countries scored in, one in the UK.
No mistake that time. Beautifully punched away through extra cover.
Oh, the edge flies.
There is the half volley. There is the extra cover drive. And there is a boundary for Dan Lawrence. That's an absolute peach. Gone. Right at the close of day one. West Indies.
Many of you will be heading down to Kensington Oval. Play starts at 10 this morning, but there will be live coverage on MCTV's ESPN channel. You can also check out the action on CBC Radio. That's 94.7, the best 24/7. Let's take a look at weather now. It's nice and cool on the outside, 21.5 degrees Celsius. It's feeling like 24 though, but still pretty cool. It's cloudy and slightly hazy. The relative humidity stands at 75%. Barometric pressure is 14.2 millibars, and those winds are topping off at about 36 kilometers per hour coming out of the east. There will be a low tide at 12 minutes past 9 this morning. A high tide will come our way at 29 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. Those seas are still pretty rough. In open water, swells are peaking at 3 meters and holding steady. A small craft advisory remains in effect for above normal sea swells. It will be partly sunny in Barbados today with a few isolated light showers. And tonight we'll get a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And here's a quick look at the international weather forecast. That's it for the Thursday edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Wendy Burke with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Hello and good morning. Wishing a terrific Thursday to all of you out there. I'm Wendy Burke joining you with this edition of Morning Barbados. Now this morning we're going to be heading up the hill to the UWI Cave Hill campus, where we'll be going to the Faculty of Medical Sciences to find out what they are up to. I want to welcome this morning Dr. Margaret O'Shea, who is a lecturer in surgery, along with Dr. Keisha Thomas Gibson, who's a lecturer in anesthesia and intensive care. Good morning, ladies, and welcome to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Wendy.
Yes. Now, we're looking at clinical medicine and the use of simulation training in the faculty. First of all, what is simulation training?
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having us. So simulation training is a technique that is used to really enhance the type of educational program that we offer to our candidates. So simulation is where you just create a realistic environment, as realistic as possible an environment for the students to immerse themselves into, but it actually does not necessarily always involve an actual patient in the interaction. So you can use mannequins, we use task trainers, which would be, say, a part of a mannequin to allow the students to learn how to do particular techniques. And therefore, this enhances patient safety because an actual patient is not involved in the training.
Okay, sounds quite interesting. And what about the use of the video technology, 3D, things like that? Do you get that far into it as well, or it's just mostly the mannequins?
No, so there are lots of different mannequin models that can be used. So right now, technology is moving very fast. So there's sometimes virtual reality, which can be used so the candidates or the students can wear a virtual headset, and they're actually, as if they're in the clinical environment, they can see everything that they would normally see, and they can give instructions through a computerized system to do what they want to do without actually being in that clinical environment. So there are those types of simulations available as well.
Okay, now if I can look at the whole idea of the anesthesia and intensive care, are a lot of our young people who are entering the faculty interested in this specialty?
It actually is a very competitive specialty here as well as throughout the rest of the world. We don't just cater to the Barbadian candidate, we are catering to the entire Eastern Caribbean. And we do have candidates who come from not necessarily even the Eastern Caribbean who are interested. We've had people who have applied even from Australia. I guess they want the Barbadian experience as well to be involved in the anesthesia program.
Okay, and what has been the uptake for your colleague? How would you say the faculty is doing these days?
Well, we're always limited by the amount of spaces that we have at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, because to do the clinical specialty, you have to have a post at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital because it is a clinical attachment. So that would be our limitation as it relates to our intake. But we definitely do have a great need and desire to increase that.
Okay. Thomas Gibson, is she hearing me?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. Right. No, in terms of, because I was there, like, I wasn't sure for a minute, but you're with us. Now,
I am, yes, thank you.
When students seek to specialize in surgery, Are there any peculiarities you find with them? Like, is it a situation where we're finding a lot more females trending toward that area now, a lot more men? Is there a particular specialty in surgery that they want to enter into? What are what are things looking like on the surface?
Well, I would say it still attracts men for the most part. When it comes to surgery, there is also that physicality and long hours and oftentimes away from home. So I think, unfortunately, sometimes in the female side of things, our trainees may think that they cannot have, like, for instance, a family life along with surgery, but it is very much possible. We're finding a change in the mindset, not only with the women, but also with the men, in terms of giving that support to the family life. So even though still heavily subscribed by the male trainees, we are getting more and more women coming in, because I think the whole, everyone is realizing now that, you know, especially our modern men are helping more in the home, at home. So you are able to have that work-life balance, I think, more than in the past. So we're attracting more and more women, I'm happy to say. As for the qualities, you really have to have that kind of mindset where, I wouldn't want to say you domineering, but you do have to have a mindset where you can make a decision very quickly, and you have to have that kind of confidence, because oftentimes, you know, the buck stops at you, and so you want someone who can come and bring that to the table. And so we have people who, you know, not only have the academics, but also then, you know, there's an art to it, and there's a technique involved. So you need to be able to use your hands as well.
And steadily.
And steadily stand for long hours. And like I said, you know, once you operate on a patient, that's your patient right through. So you may need to be called in, you know, right after. Sometimes you're up for 36, sometimes 48 hours after call, and so on. So there's that determination that you must bring to be successful in the surgical specialty.
No.
I want to add
go ahead.
Comment about the simulation. I do want to add that when in the COVID environment, it has become even more and more useful, because whereas in clinical medicine, the students come to the hospital and they rotate through various specialties within the hospital, we had to limit that a lot in the COVID environment. So simulation really came forward, and the use of the virtual environment in order to keep the training going during the last 2 years. And we've really had to use a lot of technology more than before to keep the clinical program going.
Well, that's good to know. What are the enrollment numbers like now? I know there's always a tussle for space, but what are we at now?
We're taking about 65 students a year, both Barbadian. We get a lot of students from Trinidad and also from the Bahamas. So that is what a year. There is some attrition coming down to the final year, as students sometimes maybe they may have felt they made a wrong decision. So I think by final year, we're graduating about 50, 55 students at the Cape Hill campus.
Right, so that means then, Dr. Thomas Gibson, that we shouldn't be seeing any dearths in terms of the specialties that we need.
It's difficult, I guess. Each specialty area, when you want to go into it as well, there will be a limitation on the number of persons you can take in. So having numbers, and you have to keep in mind, as she said, the 55 or 50 candidates who may graduate, many of them are non-nationals. So they may not necessarily stay at the Cape Hill campus to pursue a postgraduate program.
Okay, so what's been the issue then with getting the Barbadian students involved? Or do most of them prefer to go to Mona or abroad, further abroad, to do their specialties?
No, we fill our quota. We fill our quota for Barbadian students. I would say it's about half and half. So we certainly have enough candidates to fill the internship requirements at the hospital. So I wouldn't say that we're going to experience a lacking numbers per se as far as internship goes. I think what Keisha may be alluding to is in the post-grad training, we are limited by a number of posts, because so you have to have a post at the hospital in order to get a full-time training program. So, you know, we need to have an increase in the number of these posts in order to increase the training program. And as you know, recently with the budgets and so on, that has not been something that has been easily achieved. So I think that's something that we've been asking for some time, so we can increase the posts within the hospital so that we can get more people in the program. And that, you know, once you have a post, then you're guaranteed that you can finish. Some programs are 5, sometimes 6 years. So you need to have somebody who has confidence that they have a dedicated job within the hospital system. Our system is a kind of a UE, MOU between UE and the QEH. So yes, you get into the program through UE, but then the QEH needs to provide the post. So it's a kind of a hybrid program, as opposed to, like, for instance, at the Mona campus, where they have a university hospital and all the posts then are provided by the university. So
but weren't we supposed to be
a hybrid program?
Weren't we supposed to be moving? Aren't we supposed to be moving toward having a university hospital? Some land was dedicated years ago, and I'm just wondering, has there been no movement?
I would love that. I think the St. Joseph Hospital has been identified possibly as a teaching hospital, but we need then the funds in order to get it up and going. But we definitely have the interest in the trainees. So, I mean, once that's up and going, it will definitely be used. But I think we need to get the funds in order to get it up.
Okay. If I can go back to Dr. Thomas Gibson quickly in terms of the whole intensive care part of it. We sometimes perhaps see a lot more things going into that area than we would want to, especially when it comes to having children being in an intensive care. How do you prepare some of your students mentally to be able to cope with all types? Because Dr. O'Shea said sometimes you might find some of them coming down to final year deciding, you know, I think I've taken the wrong path. How do we keep them firm and stable in the belief that, yes, I've chosen the right thing and I am equipped to do this?
Well, I think that comes down to exposure. So it's a situation with making sure that the students, as they're rotating through the different programs and departments, and especially, as you said, things like intensive care and the pediatric area, because it is really an area that has a bleeding heart for everybody, that you're giving them the appropriate exposure to the resources that are available to them and to the parents, and to the children, because if you are not too sure if you're helping, that is where you find yourself in a situation where you may start to change your mind about your program. Okay. And also making sure you're giving them the support. And then it's the training. And again, a plug for simulation. It's really good at that, because it's not just the mannequins. Everybody, when they start to think about simulation, they start to think about the use of mannequins, but we actually do simulation for things like communication. So they do scenarios and drills where they're put in those difficult conversations and difficult situations, which you don't want that the first time they've encountered it is when they're with the actual patient or parent. So exactly. You want to make sure that they feel prepared for these environments, and they know what resources are available to the parents, the child, and to them afterwards when they are encountering these difficult situations. So we've actually been able to merge with Sick Kids, the University of Toronto, Sick Kids Hospital, and you might have discussed that early in the week, where they're now offering with the University of the West Indies a program with the nurses, a master's program in pediatric nursing, and that is heavily simulation based as well, because that is how they're trained at Sick Kids. We have not been able to do these things without a lot of input from external persons who have seen the need for simulation. So there's the Sandy Lane Trust, who actually was very early on in the game and assisted and donated a very expensive mannequin to the university and to the Department of Pediatrics a few years back. And now we have been then again fortuitous through the Arnott Cato Foundation, who have identified the need, and they have graciously made a very big donation as well of a very sophisticated mannequin again to the campus. And they are also upgrading the clinical skills building where we actually do these tasks and have the students interact in these environments.
Well, we're glad to hear that there's a lot of movement on the Hill, and let's hope that we are truly preparing our students for the future, and we have some top-notch surgeons and anesthesiologists so that we can see and hear their names emblazoned across the world, not just Barbados. I want to thank you so much this morning, Dr. Margaret O'Shea and Dr. Keisha Thomas Gibson. Best of luck to you in your programs, and have a brilliant morning, ladies.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Morning Barbados will be back after the break, and we'll be talking to Abeja Nafar. She's doing a lot in terms of helping the homeless, the needy. You'll hear all about it when we return.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And we're back. It's time to speak with Abeja Nafar. And this Barbadian has been award-winning not only at home, where she is now in New York, but she's also been doing a lot for us here in Barbados. I want to welcome this morning Linda Greenwich Kirk, who runs Destined for Success charity. And she's joined this morning by her daughter, Destiny Kirk, who also works alongside Mommy with the charity. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Now, Linda, you have just received the award of the 2022 Power Women of Brooklyn. Let's talk about that and what it means to you.
Power Women means to me, especially the word power, it means to me a woman that is doing fabulous things into the community.
Okay. Now, there are a number of charities which you have. Let's just go through them quickly, because outside of Destined for Success, you also run business and so on. So give us a little bit of background on who Linda really is.
Linda is a CEO. She's an educator. And she's a mom.
And you always have Destiny at your side. Destiny, how do you feel about Mommy having won that award? And do you feel pressured to help, or is it something that comes to you naturally, knowing that your mom is helping so many people?
I'm very proud of her for winning the award, because I see how hard she works and contributes to the community. And then as far as my own personal path, it's something that comes natural, and I think it's something that runs in our family. Just specifically when I think back to like my late grandmother, who did a lot in the community in Barbados as far as like nursing and nurturing other youth besides her children. Which then tailored my own personal path, which is working in government here in New York or here in the States. So I think it's definitely something that is a family passion.
Well, that's great to know that there are women like that in the Kirk family. Now, Linda, you have been doing lots of donating and philanthropy type work here. And I want you to tell us about some of the institutions you've been involved with and some of the countries that you've actually reached out to, because it's not just Barbados that you're helping.
Yes, some of the countries that I reached out to was St. Vincent. I have worked with like 95% of people from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. During the volcano disaster, I had collected a lot of food, clothing, um, to give back to the Grenadines of St. Vincent.
Okay, and in Barbados, you also work with the Alliance to End Homelessness, and you've even sponsored some families that you continue to give to. Tell me about that.
So, I reached out to Kimar Safri. I think that's the CEO and founder of Barbados Homeless Alliance. And I got a few Bajans that I see that was very passionate about Barbados off of social media. And we formed this group named Gems of Barbados. And we came together and promote a food drive for during the pandemic. And I would like to thank um, those phenomenal people of Gem of Barbados. I still have them in a group chat. We have collected so many items during the pandemic to send for Kimar Safri, the
Okay.
Barbados Homeless Alliance. Yeah.
You also do scholarships.
Yes. So I've started a scholarship from $500. Now it's raised to $1,600, and I will give it back to seniors graduate.
Okay, so you're doing a lot. And during the pandemic, you also found the time to help the essential workers who were in the midst of it all.
Yes. So I started to cook, and during the pandemic, as you know, a lot of schools and community centers was closed for students. So I started to cook at home to have an extra income coming in. And then I see like the essential workers, they then wasn't going home to their families, and um it was just impacting a lot of homes, especially the working people. And I decided instead of having this food here and selling it, I decided to like take it to the community hospitals.
Okay, now you really go out of your way to help. And you've also adopted 3 families here in Barbados. How did that process come about? Were there people you were associated with in any way?
No. So when people saw what Gems of Barbados was doing for the Barbados Alliance's homeless, someone reached out to my sister, Deborah Greenwich Coulter Kirk, and asked, um, can your sister help? And my sister reached out to me, and I decided, you know what, um, I'm going to do this. And I decided to do it on my own. It did take me some time. It took me like 3 months, but I did got those barrels packed and sent for those 3 homes in one state, Barbados, to help those families who the pandemic did impact.
Now, you're doing a lot of this out of pocket, or do you also get a lot of sponsorship coming your way to be able to do it effectively?
So I usually do it out of my pocket, but for the family, the tree family in Barbados, I reached out to an aunt that I had here, and I spoke to her, and she has been providing me with the food, the clothing, etc.
Okay, now costs are going up across the world in terms of freighting and shipping, yes? Is this going to be a big setback for you? Is it going to mean that you're able to help less people?
No, because Linda, I like to reach out to companies, especially the CEO of companies, and I do tell them my initiatives, and those companies will, like, for shipping those barrels to the Barbados Homeless Alliances. The CEO of that company actually was a family friend, and he did that for me for free. So I do reach out to get my connections and make sure
Okay.
that they.
Well, that's great to know. Now, Destiny, how late does mommy keep you up helping to pack those barrels?
It can definitely take a few days. But I think the initiative is worth it, and if we can help as many people or reach as many people as we can, then I don't mind.
Well, that's awesome to know. So what, after winning the award now, Linda, is going to be your next big project, either at home in New York or here in Barbados? You already have some people you're associated with, but I'm sure you're looking to do more. People who have giving hearts always think that they need to give more. What's next for Linda?
For What's next for me is to be bringing Destined for Success organization to Barbados. My daughter will tell you more about our plans for Destined for Success. Also, I would like Barbadians to know, um, I am managing a banquet hall, the Palace Place on 713 Nostrand Avenue, 11216. We have some upcoming events like a Mother's Day event, Father's Day event, Easter Day event. This Easter Day event is held by three cousins of Barbados. Some of the proceeds are going back to the pediatric ward in Barbados. Um, then I have another event that is coming up. Is motivational women's services. I'm sponsoring that event. So for all Barbadians near and far, and that is watching it and listening, you can send donations. Like, they're going to have a school drive, so we can collect books, pencils, backpacks, lunch boxes, items for schools, so we can help the children in Barbados.
Okay.
As I said, I give
Yes,
you the
so
platform
yes, so
talk more
Destiny,
about that.
yeah, she'll
Success.
tell us all about Destined for Success before we wrap up.
Okay, no problem. So, Destined for Success is a program created to teach professional development skills to high school students in underserved communities. So, what we do with Destined for Success is we curate curriculum and workshops that target professional wear, public speaking, interview skills, resume, cover letters, anything that I feel like students need to know in order to go out and be successful in college or in whatever field they decide to take on if college is not their direction. We also connect students to professionals in their prospective fields. The communities that we target are often students of color, so we personally like to provide them or connect them to professionals that are professionals of color as well. And sometimes these students can come out with networking experiences, they come out with internships, mentors. So Destined for Success is very much needed, and I think it's something that the students or the young adults in Barbados would definitely benefit from. And I'm interested in organizing it there and hopefully making a great contribution to the youth on the island.
Well, we are thankful that you are looking to follow in Mummy's footsteps, Destiny, and maybe you too might be winning an award in a few years. Ladies, I want to thank you so much, or Bajans from afar, for joining us this morning and speaking all about the charitable work that you've been doing. Have a great morning.
Thank you. You too.
When Morning Barbados returns, we'll be looking at our exceptional youth. But before that, it'll be time for some more news. So we'll take a break and be right back.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, we're back, and it's time to head over to Shane Seeley now to hear some more news this morning.
Here's your headline news for this Thursday, March the 17th. Predictions of a bright economic future for Barbados. That's a projection coming from the Prime Minister, Mia Amor Motley, as she wrapped up debate on the Appropriation Bill 2022 in Parliament last night. In her final comments on the budget, she outlined a host of projects that are being worked on to generate major economic growth.
I haven't spoken to the fact, and I want to thank the member for Christchurch West, who today updated this honourable chamber, because the numbers I had, as I told you at the day, on Monday, were still a work in progress. That shows that we will add, we believe, close to 1,854 new hotel rooms within the next 3 years in this country, and I know it's going to be more than that because this doesn't have one all. And that would be at an investment of just under 1.4 billion, 1.38 billion to be precise. And that we expect it to generate 6,146 jobs, and that's why the Honourable Minister of Education is being asked, as she is doing so quickly and expeditiously, to establish the Construction Gateway Training Program, of which she spoke in her debate, and I thank you for that. And that will lead ultimately to 4,115 jobs. And that does not include the rooms being built at Apes Hill, for which the investment at Apes Hill is literally going to be in excess of 100 million US in the initial years. And I think the overall investment comes close to 300 million US, just over 300 million US over the 5-6 year period.
Now, in addressing food security and affordability, the Prime Minister says that the President of Guyana has insisted that even before the Barbados-Guyana food terminal is built at Lears, that something is done to bring down food prices.
I've asked the Minister of Agriculture to speak with Barvin and the other farmers, because there is a possibility of cooperative arrangements even now before we build the terminal, because we don't want people to starve while we wait to build the terminal. And I really want to commend him and thank him for his cooperation with us on these matters pertaining to food and nutritional security. I haven't spoken about the fact that we have also agreed to do the 6,000 hospitality workers training again. I haven't spoken to the fact that because Barbados has access potentially to at least 700,000 tourists in land-based tourists in a good year, and 900,000 cruise ship tourists, and then a resident population of 300,000, a collective market of about 2 million people, that we have agreed that we will establish a gold exchange in Barbados. Just as you have a gold exchange in Dubai, that Barbados should be that place where people can come and buy gold, and Guyana then has a larger market through their vendors and their jewelers to be able to sell to that larger market from Barbados, and Barbadians and Barbados, who then is the host for that exchange, will also benefit in a way that we would not otherwise benefit.
Now, in his contribution last night, the Attorney General Dale Marshall announced a Constitution Reform Committee is to be launched early in this new term of government. Speaking during that budget debate, the Attorney General said a draft constitution is ready and will be soon rolled out. He revealed the chair of the commission as well.
We propose that Mr. Justice, retired Christopher Blackman, should be the chair of this commission. I can think of very few people as eminent or as erudite as Mr. Justice Blackman to grapple with this issue for us. And I want to encourage all Barbadians to seize every opportunity to weigh in on this constitutional discussion as it is brought to the people of Barbados.
The Appropriation Bill 2022 was passed and will now head to the Senate for debate. Looking at the local COVID-19 situation, there were 118 new COVID-19 cases recorded on Tuesday, March the 15th, and this is from 949 tests conducted by the Besto Santos Public Health Laboratory. The cases comprise 26 individuals under the age of 18 and 92 people who were 18 years and older. The number of people in the isolation facilities was 45, while 1,085 people were in home isolation. As at March 15th, the virus had claimed 326 lives. And finally, a look at sports. The West Indies will be searching for early wickets this morning to turn around what was a strong batting performance by England as they reached 244 for 3 at stumps on day one of that second apex test against the Windies. The English captain Joe Root led by example with 119 not out. And he was unbeaten at the end of that test. That's his 25th ton. Root and Dan Lawrence shared a 164-run third wicket partnership before Lawrence was dismissed just before the close of play by Jason Holder for a well-played 91. That included 13 fours and 1 6. Bowling for the Windies, as you heard, Jaden Seals, Versami Pramala and Jason Holder claimed 1 wicket apiece. Play starts at 10 a.m. with live coverage on MCTV's ESPN channel and on CBC Radio 94.7, the best 24/7. And I know many of you will be heading down to the Mecca to watch that action live and in person. And that's your headline news for this morning. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Wendy.
Why, thank you, Shane. Let's hope that we'll have some exciting action at the Oval today and in the favor of the West Indies. Well, when we come back, we will tell you about our exceptional youth, some young triathletes. You'll hear all about the tournament they left for and what they did.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's Thursday, and it's the day we focus on our exceptional youth. Today, we're going to be looking at a number of young ones who are into triathlete events. Yes, they recently left Barbados to be part of something called the Draft Legal Challenge. It is the launchpad in the USA for triathlon's best talent. Barbados saw 6 emerging athletes who competed in the 2-day open event in the beautiful Lake Louisa state of Clermont, Florida. The large event was held from the 5th and 6th of March and welcomed competitors from around the world to the USA. And the only 2-day draft legal event in the country, which offers a high level of competition for the young Barbadian group. They comprise Finn Armstrong, Luke McIntyre, Kane Banfield, Zinzale Renwick-Williams, Shara Hines, and Neil Skinner. Now, this morning, we're going to be talking all about the competition and their performance. And joining us with them is their coach, Darren Treasure. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Yes. So we have with us this morning Darren, Luke McIntyre. Luke.
Hi.
Hello. And Kane Banfield.
Good morning.
Now, both of these youngsters here are 14 years old. Darren, how did they perform?
Oh, well, they did great. I guess, first of all, I'd just like to make a that I'm not actually their coach. I'm the president of the federation, but I work with the athletes and I oversee kind of their development, if you will. They have multiple coaches. In triathlon, you have swimming, biking, and running. So they have coaches that help them with each of those disciplines. But in terms of their results, it was outstanding. I mean, it exceeded our expectations. We knew they had lots of potential, and they certainly delivered when it came time to the race day.
Okay, let's go now to Luke first. Now, triathlete, 3 events. Which part is your favorite?
For me, the run is probably my favorite, just because it's the finishing of the entire race, and it's my strong point. And I like, if I leave the race down to the run, it increases my chances of doing well. So I do prefer the run.
Okay, and what about you, Kane?
I'm not sure. I like both the swim and the ride. I used to really like the ride, but then in this event where I went away, I wasn't as good as some of the other guys there at the bike, so it's probably my swim.
Okay, so you said you weren't as good as some of the others. Does that mean that you had a little bit of disappointment in your performance?
I wouldn't say I was disappointed. It was a lot of the guys that were better than me at the bike were about a year older than me, so it was kind of expected. But
Okay.
here, I normally the ride is my strong point.
Okay, and was it because of the terrain maybe that it was a bit different?
I wouldn't say it was because of that.
Okay.
A lot of those guys are much bigger than me, and all of them are a year older.
Okay, so we just have to get you a little bigger and beefier then and do some more training for that. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta put on some weight.
Yes. What about you now, Luke? You said you like the run, but do you see yourself having to beef up in the other 2 areas so that in the event that, we have some swifter ones coming, you can still do well in terms of your point standing?
I think that I could still improve on my swim and ride quite a bit. The difference for me in this event was I came out in the second group right behind the first group in the swim, and pretty much had to ride with that group on the ride to try and catch the front group that Kane was in. And eventually people started falling off of that group, which allowed me to ride in a much bigger pack. So when it got onto the run, everyone was pretty much together and there wasn't much catching to do. So if the first 2 segments are strong enough, it should be. And you get yourself in good position, the run usually works for me.
Okay, let's hear now from Darren in terms of watching these 2 and what you were most impressed with that they gave on the day.
Well, I wasn't actually there on the event, so I've just heard recounts from each of them. I've seen them train daily, and I know what they're capable of. In terms of, hearing from them and their parents who were there, they executed a very wise strategy. I mean, part of triathlon is understanding your strengths and weaknesses and trying to execute a race plan on the day. And for these young athletes to start getting exposure to that and that type of racing does wonders for their development. And you can just hear from the way they speak. They're so wise for their age. They understand the strategic elements of a race, where they need to be after certain points in the race. And that's something you don't get unless you actually go out there and compete. So all I can say is, these guys have just done a tremendous job. And, if they continue along this path, I mean, sky's the limit for them.
Okay, now if I can get back to both Luke and Kane, outside of being involved in the triathlon events, what do you do for fun?
Well, I like to fish a lot. I like to spearfish sometimes. I like to see a lot, so I like to go to the beach, that kind of thing.
Okay, and what about you, Luke?
And well, for me, outside of triathlon, doing something, even something related to the sport, but not in a competitive way, is also something that's really fun. Meaning that every time I go running, I'm running as hard as I can, I'm running with other people running as hard as they can as well. And that just makes the environment completely different. But if I go for a walk or if I go for a jog or anything of the sort, it's a pretty fun activity considering I don't get to do that often
Okay.
with training.
Okay. Now, how long have you two been involved?
I think my first triathlon, I was.
It's
I'll
your
let Luke go
first.
first.
Luke, go ahead.
Oh, I think I've been involved in the sport from youngest age group, which is under 7. After remembering seeing my dad do triathlons and so on and really wanting to do it. I'm trying to think of an exact age, but probably 4 to 5 in that under 7 age group. I probably started triathlons.
Okay. And what about you, Kane?
I think I must have been 8 or 9, something like that. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, but you started young. Now, what about the training school balance? How do you work that out? Because I know sometimes you tend to get up very early to go swimming and so on. How do you work it through?
Well, for me, I just try to be smart with my time and don't like leave assignments till the last minute to do. I try and get them done once I get given them. I try and do my morning trainings quite early so that I still have a lot of time to get ready for school so I'm not late. That's about it.
And what about you, Luke?
Pretty much the same thing as him, except just going to bed early. If you go to bed early and you've done your work by the time you go to bed, it means that you can wake up early in the morning without feeling really tired and without it really affecting school. Because in the end, training time and school time doesn't collide directly, so you just have to be smart on how to do the work after school and how to do the extra training without that getting in the way.
Okay, I want to wish you two every success and hope that you get stronger in the areas that you think you need to beef up in. We will be seeing you, Darren, back with some other exceptional youth in a moment. Morning Barbados will take a break. Have a good day at school today, boys.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Morning Barbados will return in a moment. And we're back to talk to some more exceptional youth this morning. Another set of triathletes who went off to Florida. And Mr. Daniel Treasure, who is with the Triathlete Federation of Barbados. Now, we want to welcome here now Finn Armstrong, he's 15. And Zinzale Renwick William, he is 11. I believe you would have been the youngest competitor this time around?
Yes, I was the youngest.
Okay. Now, tell me about the competition and your performance, Zinzale.
We went to Florida, which you probably know by now. So out of 70 people, all boys and girls. It was a mixed race, and I came 22nd overall and 17th in the boys. And then it was a 2-day race. So on Sunday, I was a little tired from Saturday, and it was only boys. And out of 43 people, I came 28th.
Okay, so you were at the midway mark, which is still great. And given that you're so young, because I'm sure there might have been a few who were older than you are taking part in the race. What about you, Finn? What was your experience at the race?
My race was very nice. I was enjoying it. I was the youngest, I think, in my age group, since my age group was 16 to 25, but triathlons goes by how old you are by the end of the year. So by the end of the year, I'm 16.
Okay.
I'm 15 already. So it was a big jump, and all the people there were a bit bigger than me. But I tried to put that aside for the most of the race. I just tried to do what I was best at and get through my run, which is my strong suit.
Okay, so the run is your strong point. Daniel, in terms of helping these athletes, because as you said before, they clearly know what they are about and how they need to get there in terms of knowing their strengths and weaknesses. Darren, sorry. How has it been in terms of the Federation being able to hone the skills of these youngsters and keep them interested in the sport?
Finn are on certain different points in their development paths. As a federation, we've identified these athletes as athletes with potential and athletes that we want to support. So we have a series of races that we do throughout the year that cater to the kids of different ages. So depending on their age, they would race at a slightly different distance. So as Finn and Zinzelia mentioned, they were in different races in Florida, and that's pretty standard across triathlon, where you kind of race in age groups kind of similar ages to you, both of them being on the young end of their age group. So yeah, we have about 10 kids races that we put on during the year, national championships in October that caters to them as well. Again, we have programs at the national level that we work with the athletes. So Finn is part of our National Emerging Athlete Program. So we work with him very closely and try to prepare him for that next jump up in racing for him to the next level. And Zinzi being at the age, we stay in touch with him and his parents and make sure that his training is going well. Try to offer his advice and guidance as much as we can, and these lines of communication stay open so that if they ever have a question, we can help them. But as they get older, we start to take more interest in training and get more involved with them as well. So both of them are doing fantastic. Again, for what they accomplished in Florida, it was certainly, the results were icing on the cake. It was really, from our perspective as a federation, we were just concerned with their development and making sure they're getting good race exposure, good quality racing, going through the necessary process involved in racing to execute and put their best results in, and they did all of that and more. So again, from the federation, we continue to look to support athletes like Finn and Zinzi, who've shown such commitment to the sport. And yeah, we just look forward to seeing them race more in the future and seeing the results come in.
Yeah, and we have two others that went with this group as well, Neil and Shara, but we'll get to meet them next week. Now, Finn, you are being prepared for the next level. How are you striking the balance between that and school? Because you're 16, so I gather you still might be in school. Yeah.
I am. It is not one I'd say is easy. It's very difficult, very time consuming, because on most days when I get home, I have, say, a day I train in the morning, then I have to go to school, and I get an hour break in between school and then my next training with traffic. And then I have to, after my training, try to fit in a little bit of work. But I do most of my work I find on the weekends when my time is free.
But if you're doing it on the weekends, that means you have no time for the fun things that you teenagers tend to like to do.
No, I'd say I still get up enough to see my friends.
Okay, well that's good to know that you're striking that balance. And what about you, Zinzile? How do you manage it all?
It's not that hard for me. It's kind of manageable, but I just train in the morning, and when I get to school, I try to get all my homework done at school so that when I have an activity in the afternoon, when I get home I can just relax. But if I still have homework, I would do it after my activity.
Okay, well that's wonderful to know that you're looking to fit it all together. So outside of that, is there any time for video games, skating, anything like that for you?
Well, I don't really play video games or skate. So
you
not
just
really.
concentrate on your sport?
Yeah, kind of, and school.
Okay, well that's interesting to know. That's where your fun is. Now, are there going to be any other things coming up within the next few months for us, Darren, that we can come out and support these youngsters in?
Well, yes, we always have our kids series races, and those take place at the gymnasium. But our next event we have is on March 27th, which is called an aquathlon, which is just swimming and running. That takes place at the Brass Park, so that's open for kids and adults. We'll be watching Finn closely. Just to mention, he's qualified for the Carifta track and field team in the 3,000 meter event. So that's a great accomplishment for a triathlete to kind of represent his country in two sports. So great for him. So we'll be watching as he progresses through that as well. And then we also have, or we're hoping to have, but we have a Carifta triathlon competition in September, which is supposed to happen in Bermuda. So we'll be looking to qualify athletes for that team and take a team up to Bermuda to compete against the other islands in triathlon. So yeah, we have a lot planned for this year. We're hoping COVID allows us to, get on with those plans without any interruption. And yeah, we'll see more results coming as events happen. So things are starting to come online across the region as well as locally. So we're looking forward to a full calendar of events.
Well, I wish BFIT as well as these athletes all the best going forward. Happy to see you're doing so well, Finn, and wishing you every success in your races. I want to thank you all for coming and being a part of Morning Barbados. We're looking forward to meet Shara and Neil and see what their experiences are like next week. So once again, guys, thank you for joining us this morning, and have a great day at school, those of you who are going.
Thank you.
And Darren, you enjoy your morning as well.
Have a great day.
Bye, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. When Morning Barbados continues, we'll be looking at more sport. NAPSAC.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Yes, and we are thankful for all those exceptional youth. But as you know, NAPSAC has had to have some changes because of the COVID pandemic, but they're still getting moving. And NAPSAC will get moving with their festival going from Monday, when it started, March 11th, at the Wilde Gymnasium. So in case you're wondering what it's all about, Ryan Toppin, the NAPSAC technical officer, will give us some details to outline what the festival has in store.
The Get Moving Festival is a concept developed by NAPSAC to allow children in primary schools to get some physical activity just before the actual NAPSAC championship. So what have we done? Just over my shoulder, you will see a stage setup, and on that stage, coaches are conducting sessions live from the gymnasium being broadcast to schools by zones. So we have one zone per day. Each zone will have in between 10 to 11 schools, and those schools log in via Zoom, and the children follow the instructions from their school. So the schools create the environment at school, we create the environment here, and then the activity begins. We have each one going with a separate age division. So we have the under 7s, under 9s, under 11s, and under 13s, all having their own tailored workout that led by National Sports Council coaches or coaches hired by National Sports Council, qualified and certified to ensure that everything that is done here is top standard, as we know with NAPSAC.
Zone. There are a number of schools that will be in that particular zone, taking in all of the activities that they will have going on to get our young ones moving. No more sitting at home. So we have Elliott Belgrave Primary, that's in Boscobel, St. Mary's Primary, St. George Primary, the Roman Catholic School, Charles F. Broome Memorial Primary, Sela Primary, Trinity Academy, St. James Primary, St. Margaret's, and Bay Primary Schools. Those are all within the Marcia Trotman Zone, and they will be getting moving today in this virtual exercise. Morning Barbados will be back after the break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Our last segment, we were talking about our young people needing to get moving after being indoors for so long with the pandemic. But during the pandemic, a number of us became quite resilient. We also learned a lot of new skills and techniques and found out about hobbies, that seemed interesting and worthwhile. This morning, we are going to highlight our amazing young people making it from home, some of the things they took on during the pandemic. And in this video you're about to see, we have Azaria, who's a young baker. She was on the show last year. And in this flashback of making it from home, we will see how she makes vanilla cupcakes.
Hi, my name is Azaria, and today I will be showing you how I make vanilla cupcakes. First, you're going to cream the butter and the sugar together until creamy. For the next step, I'm going to add 2 eggs and essence. For the next step, I'm going to alternate the dry ingredients and the milk. Now that the batter is all done, I'll use my ice cream scoop to make the cupcake as even as possible. Now they're ready for the oven. The oven has been preset to 350 degrees and this should be ready in about 20 minutes. Now the cupcakes are all done and I'm going to decorate them with Valentine's clothes. And there you have it, Azaria's marvelous Valentine's cupcakes. Bye!
And it's always great to have a cupcake at any point in time. We'll take a break and return with even more exceptional youth.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We had our exceptional youth before who were triathletes. Now we're going to have a footballer, another exceptional youth this morning. I want to welcome Taj and Hafu, a footballer with the Barbados Soccer Academy. Good morning to you, Taj.
Good morning, Mom. Good morning.
Now, I see something very exciting here. You went to Alexandra.
Yes, I did.
Great
Yes, I
school,
did.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly,
Not
it's
yeah.
great.
Not just yeah. It has to be yeah.
Of course, yes. Very,
Good.
very proud of the school.
Very good. Now, you're studying right now sports management, but why
Yeah.
soccer?
Why soccer? Because it's just football is everything. Football, you. This is a cliche, but football is life. It's a passion. It's everything. It's just football is the sport. If you want to get into a sport, choose football.
Okay. So what do you see your future in it looking like?
Of course, every footballer wants to be professional. They want to be up there, but you always have to have something to fall back on. And what I'm looking at right now is coaching and scouting, and being a technical director, just like my manager and coach, Mr. Jack Bevel, something like him. But obviously, take it abroad and take it to the next level. Also, bring other Barbadians over and giving them opportunities like how Mr. Bevel is giving me and other players opportunities in
That's
Barbados.
wonderful. Now, what's your position on the field and why this one?
My position on the field is left wing, or the wing, both the right and the left. Why this position? Because you're involved, you're in the limelight, you're the creative player, and I like to be, like to be a part of that. It's a very,
So,
I would say, pardon?
so what's in your makeup that makes you good at that particular position? What do you say drives
I
you?
would
What are some of
say
your attributes?
I would say my dribbling, because I'm a very sharp player. So yeah, my dribbling and my passing. My pass is up there. I have good crossing ability, and sometimes I could take a shot and I could score some goals. Definitely.
Okay. So how many have you scored for the season?
Well, as we're right now, unfortunately, I have to say zero because, as we all know, all the obvious reasons because of COVID-19, I need 2 year break. But I've heard some news that football may be starting back, and hopefully, when I get on the pitch, I will score a lot of goals.
Okay. But you've been practicing though.
Yes, I have been practicing.
Right. So haven't you been scoring at practice?
Of course, of course,
Oh,
of course,
okay.
of course.
Okay. All right.
course.
Now, doing sports management, you're at Barbados Community College, but you're still putting in all of those hours with training. How are we finding the balance?
Simple word, time management. Organize yourself and you will get through very smoothly. Just, make sure you don't overwhelm yourself with all the work and whatnot. And just properly organize yourself and you will get things through, honestly. You will get things
Okay.
through.
Now, why did you choose this particular academy? Or did it choose you?
It chose me. You got it. It chose me. I was transitioning from another club, and I heard about Mr. Jack Bevel and what he offers for just not only just a football club for just an extracurricular activity, but to really and truly broaden my skills and take me to the next level. And I never ever seen a football club like Jack. Like Mr. Bevel. And honestly, with the help of YMCA, RBC, Capital Market, National Sports Council, and the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, they help players like me and all others to get to the next level, and they bring a lot of opportunities. So the club really chose me, and it really,
So
just the
how
opportunities
does,
it brings, the scholarships and whatnot.
with all of this praise that you're heaping on this club, what makes it so much more special than the other clubs that you could have perhaps transitioned to? What's the leveraging ability?
As of right now, off of memory, Barbados Soccer Academy has secured around 42 scholarships, way more than the other competitive clubs, other high competitive clubs. And from the recent tour that was in Florida, Orlando, they have secured 3 more pending scholarships. And hopefully in the tour later down the road, in the Robbie Cup in Toronto, Canada, which hopefully I'll be going, we can secure a scholarship for myself and also for others. So the opportunities, again, are sky's the limit. And the only way you could get there is for yourself to put the work in.
And how have you been putting in the work? Outside of being on the field of play, what else have you been doing to beef yourself up and to train?
Yes. As a small player myself, recently I've been going to the gym with some of my friends and whatnot. And yeah, they told me, because my friends don't lie to me, they tell me the truth. Taj, if you want to go overseas, if you want to go on to the next level, you have to bulk up, you have to get big, because not only you're dribbling and passing alone, but you have to have a physical aspect to your football game and whatnot. So definitely outside of training, 'cause you can't just put hours on your field, you have to put hours off the field. So definitely, yeah.
Okay, let's talk now about your favorite team and your favorite footballer.
Okay.
Who are they?
Favorite team, Chelsea. Chelsea's my favorite team. At Chelsea, I bleed. Honestly, I bleed Chelsea. Favorite player will have to be Eden Hazard. As of right now, he's kind of disappointing. But when he was at Chelsea at the time, he was one of the best players in the Premier League. If Messi and Ronaldo wasn't alive, he'd be winning a lot of Ballon d'Ors himself. He's just one of the most creative talents I've ever seen, and such an inspiring player because he's the definition of just talent. It's just creativity, everything. He's truly a great player to watch art on the field.
But you're watching him. Are you having any takeaways from him that you're putting into practice yourself?
His anything. Well, Hazard is such a nonchalant player, and I feel I want to have that because he's not nervous at all. Where I deal with that nervousness, that anxiety on the field, where Hazard doesn't show it at all. So I like to, take part of that. It's nonchalant in the boy's composure.
Okay. Yes, well, that is wonderful that you want to look at that part of the play. Now, earlier you were talking about the opportunities that have been given to our young men and so on with these scholarships. But do you think enough of them are taking full advantage once being given? Are they really driving it to the next level?
That's a yes or no question there. But to be honest, yes, they are. I know a couple players that are really, really not taking this for granted. They're really giving it their all. My cousin, Asher Jean-Pierre, I think he acquired a full ride at a college in Florida, and he never looked back since. He obviously you have your highs and lows, but really and truly, when these Barbadians get these opportunities and these once in a lifetime more than others, they take it for a lot of, they really take it seriously. People like Thierry Gale and Rashawn Gittins, they really take it seriously and they really want to take it to the next level.
Okay.
So yes, they.
So what advice would you give to other youngsters who were thinking about getting involved in football in a more serious way and trying to push for that professional level? What would you encourage them to do?
Hard work. Just keep working. Don't matter how much times you fail or whatnot, just keep working. Because honestly, it will pay off in the end. Networking, get to know the people, make yourself out there, exposure, whatnot. And yeah, at the end of the day, you will get through. You will get through.
Now, was there anyone in your family that led you to the game of football, or are there any other footballers in your household or cousins, what have you? Because, youngsters tend to want to emulate others.
You're right. You're very right. You're very right. three people in mind. One, again, my cousin that I had mentioned earlier, Asha John Pierre. As a child, when we used to play against each other and whatnot, used to really beat me bad. But honestly, that just gave me the drive to get better than him one day. And the next person is my father. My father, I hear stories and stories that he was great and whatnot. And I just
Your
want to make him
father
proud for
is?
sure. Just to make him proud. Nayana Hatum.
Okay. And he played here?
Yes, he played here and he played in Trinidad at one point in time.
Okay.
And then the last person was a very distant relative, well, I think my cousin, Mr. Daisy Clark. He apparently was one of the best to ever touch Barbados, best ever. It's just obviously back then we never had the opportunities or whatnot, the cameras and this to that, so he didn't make it out as quickly as others. But one of the best local talents to ever touch Barbados, ever, ever, ever. Best.
Okay.
Daisy
So,
Clark.
so you had a good training ground to build on, and I want you to continue to do them proud, continue to do yourself and your parents proud, continue to do Alexandra proud. Now, in terms of the sports management, how has it been going? I mean, the semester has been broken up. We've been online, we've been in face to face, then we're back off again, and now we're back on again. So how have you been coping with it all?
Honestly, at this point, it's been 2 years, and I've grown accustomed. I've grown accustomed to face or online, where it doesn't matter anymore for me per se. It's just I do what I have to do. I get up in the morning, I go and eat the breakfast, I go on and I just go and do the classes. I pay attention. I try to be attentive and whatnot. And right now, yeah, it's just grown accustomed to what the new norm is.
Okay, it's the new normal and you're taking it and just moving with it as you have to. Well,
Yes,
Taj,
please.
here's hoping for the best for you. Here's hoping that when that Canada trip comes up, you're selected to go, and also that some scouts will see you and we'll be seeing and hearing you out there performing internationally.
Hopefully, that's a dream.
It was fun having you here with us this morning on Morning Barbados. Taj Nintahu, a footballer with the Barbados Soccer Academy, and giving great praises there for Mr. Jack Bavell and all the good work that he's been doing with these youngsters. Morning Barbados will take a break and we'll be back.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
And as we told you, it's NAPSAC time, but they're going to be doing it differently with their virtual relay. And we're going to tell you some more about this Get Moving Festival, which is underway, with Championship Director Julian Pierre. He'll tell us all about what's coming up.
I'm Julian Pierre, Championship Director of National Primary Schools Athletic Championships. As you know, we're in our 20th anniversary, celebrating NAPSAC from the start until now. We're here at the Get Moving Festival, which is a virtual festival, and we decided to do this to jumpstart things, get students excited, get the athletes excited, get the public excited as to NAPSAC for 2022. Remember, May 10th to the 13th is our Relay Festival. That is our face-to-face festival. Now, we would have had and experienced some challenges since 2020 because of the pandemic. But we had decided, you know what? We have to get those children moving again. And in getting those children moving, our aim is to make sure that we have all schools participating, as usual, all schools on board, and making sure that the principals and all other stakeholders are on board with us as well. So for the Relay Championships, remember, it is only the under-9s, under-11s, and under-13s who will be participating. No under-7s and no other track and field events, but the relays. And they're going to be distance relays. For the under-9s, it is going to be a 4x400 meter relay. For the under-11s, 4x600 meter relay. And for the under-13s, it is going to be a 4x800 meter relay. Our vision going forward, obviously, on behalf of the Executive Committee of NAPSAC, we want to make sure that track and field and exercise remain stable, a staple as well in Barbados. We want to make sure that the children continue to keep moving, continue to get active or get back active, and we would have realized coming back into the face-to-face environment, some of the children would have put on a few pounds. But this is the opportunity for them to get moving again, to get back in shape, and to make sure that they're representing themselves, their families, and their schools at their peak once again. We want to thank everyone. We thank all of the well-wishers, those who have been given the guidance, the advice. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. And we look forward to your continued support for the rest of the days. Remember, we're March 14th to the 18th, March 21st to the 23rd for the Get Moving Virtual Festival. And of course, our face-to-face relays, May 10th to the 13th. And we say on behalf of the Executive Committee of the National Primary Schools Athletic Championship, thank you everyone.
On Morning Barbados, the National Primary Schools Athletic Championship. It's underway in the way that they have to do it because of COVID, unfortunately. Several zones to look out for these children: the Andrea Blackett zone, James Wedderburn, Anton Norris, Marcia Trotman, which is on today, and tomorrow it will be the Patsy Calendar zone. On the 21st, it will be Obadele Thompson, Ryan Brathwaite on the 22nd, and Frida Nichols on the 23rd. All of these are athletes who have done Barbados proud in the past, and they continue to support the sport, and we continue to support NAPSAC and all of those young ones out there who are putting their best foot, literally, forward for this country. Well, it's been a great morning, a terrific Thursday to you, and here's hoping whatever you do, you enjoy it to the maximum. That's Morning Barbados this morning. I'm Wendy Burke.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados. Good